when we stand before God and He proceeds to ask us all these things, what is going to be our answer back to Him? You can't straddle the fence. You either are or you're not. And on abortion, I'm not even going to go there.
Right.
Because and they can say personal choice. Well, they can say personal choice, but it's God's choice. That's the way I believe. And a quick one on this dog business.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm saying, okay. Go for it.
I think that everybody that has dogs and cats, and I live in a small town and they run wild, I think everybody that has a dog and a cat, unless you are licensed breeders,
right,
your vets should help out on this. They should be neutered or spayed. Mine are. And I believe this should be done as such. And that's about all I have.
All right. Well, thank you, Sandy. We appreciate your call.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. Good thoughts from Sandy. You're finding a lot of problems with, as particularly guys, buying these, big violent dogs, treating them as such, and then once they become kind of a problem, not so friendly, then they don't take care of them. Lora Beck is being really loud right now. And if you're wondering why I stuttered, she practically yelled into the phone. All I heard was a blah, and it was her over there just yelling. What are you doing over there?
Sometimes I feel like I need to speak louder to some people. I don't know.
Okay, because I'm going to be honest with you. I was just over here talking.
See, you're talking and I can't hear. It's not like there's a wall between us, everybody.
Right, no,
it's like
we're
right beside each other. So he's talking and he has, a man's voice, as you might guess. And
yes.
I don't have that loud of a voice. And so whenever he's talking, I can't hear myself talk to them. So sometimes I can't spell things right, and I write sloppy. See?
But it wasn't even that. But though it was just we were going along, and everything was fine. Just typically when you answer the phone, you're like, "Hello, this is Cracker Barrel," and it's very quiet. But then all of a sudden, this was like, "Hello, you're on Cracker Barrel."
Well, you did give me coffee and creamer that tastes like cinnamon, so it's your fault. You're at fault for this.
It's a madhouse here.
It is. It's a madhouse.
And the reason why is because I made coffee this morning, got here early, and then I made brownies. And since then,
which is a bad combination if that's the first thing you've ate in the morning. I'm not going to go into that. But I don't know. Bluegrass and barbecue. That's all I have to say.
We're done. There you go. Good grief. No, that's just it. Really. I was just going along talking, and then all of a sudden I heard her kind of yell loudly. I wouldn't know what she said, but it really just kind of I was like, what's going on over there? Anyway, let's go to line one. I believe we still have Lee on the line. Good morning, Lee. You're on Cracker Barrel.
How you doing this morning, Josh?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to touch on a couple of subjects this morning.
Okay, let's go for it.
One is freedom of speech in Miss California.
Okay.
During that contest, when that judge asked her that question, he put it to her like this: I want to know what you think. Well, she gave her answer.
Right.
It was a very good answer. Ever since then, the people have been down on that woman for using her freedom of speech. He didn't ask her the question. He didn't say, I want you, Miss California, to answer the question the way I want to hear it. I want to hear your answer, which is what she did, exercising her freedom of speech. And the girl probably lost the contest just for that. I've never heard so many people being down on a person for using their freedom of speech in a public forum such as she was on television.
It was pretty remarkable, wasn't it? Now, Lee, do you know the guy? Do you know who the guy was that asked?
Yeah,
that
I know
question?
who he was. Yeah, I know who he was.
He's an openly gay columnist, and that's
right. I understand that.
Okay.
Now,
I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying it's a very pointed question. I don't know. Continue.
Well, she answered it like she thought it should be answered. She did not say anything derogatory to him about his alternative lifestyle. She didn't say anything to him about that at all. Now, here's what really gets to me. The media, people from Hollywood, have been watching different talk shows. Every one of them have been down on that woman for giving that answer. And they've sided with the openly gay judge. And they've been running around finding these pictures of her and putting them on television, which that's their prerogative to do so. That's the media's. But
right.
what I cannot understand is why the media has not come to her defense more than what they have.
Well, that's an interesting point, Lee, because, I mean, here's how I view the whole thing. I think that she stated her opinion. Now, we talk about tolerance all the time. There was none there. It was just basically like, you are the most horrible person in the world. And you're right, she didn't say anything derogatory. She said, this is what I believe.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with believing
nothing
that.
At all.
People
nothing
have different views on this, and you live in America, so you're allowed to believe that. Now, from that point, we got into a big issue because then everyone got very upset about this, obviously, for different reasons. One, because she said that, or two, because they felt like she got massacred for saying it. And, here's the deal. This woman, she took off her clothes for pictures. That's her own prerogative. She does
some of her clothes, not all of them.
Not all of them. And I don't even think obviously that's another judgment for someone else to make what they think about that. But here's what I think. You could still take off your clothes and believe that if you want to. That doesn't make her a hypocrite. It just maybe she doesn't subscribe to the same beliefs that you do. But but somehow people tie that in, like, you may believe in marriage between a man and a woman, but you wouldn't do anything else. The difference is people believe very different things. There's not one cookie-cutter belief system that we're all stamped with.
Oh, sure. I understand that.
Right.
But still, Josh, a bottom line is what we call, and you people in the media, it's even nearer and dear to you, it's called freedom of speech.
Oh, and I couldn't agree more. I think, unless it's inciting direct violence and, actions against someone in that way, I am in full support of it. I think she should, and she did, and has been given an open platform to say what she wants. And
she prevailed, because Donald Trump seen that it was her freedom of speech that was being trampled on. Now, I used to hear from the media, the elite media, as some people call them, like Brian Williams and so on. So I used to hear people in the media say, okay, I disagree with what she said, however, I defend her right to say it. I don't hear that from the media anymore.
Well,
I never hear that from the media. What if I was to say to the media, I'll just, use you as an example here to start on.
Okay.
What if I was to walk up to you and say, okay, Josh, you're a journalist, but I firmly believe we should get rid of the First Amendment. Would you defend the amendment then?
I would.
Of course you would.
Of course
you would. And Brian Williams would do it. Katie Couric would do it. Anybody, if I was to ask them that and then say, no, I disagree with you, we should get rid of the First Amendment, they'd say, oh, no, wait a minute. Now, my bottom line on that is they should have come to the girls' defense more than what they did. Okay, and just one other thing on that. I wonder what that openly gay judge would do if some pictures of his alternative lifestyle were to get on television.
Well, you know what?
Well, those would be some pictures, wouldn't they?
I'm not sure those would be as popular.
Huh?
I'm not sure those would be as popular.
Well, I'm saying, how would he like it, though, I wonder?
Oh, well, depending on his character, he may go either way.
Okay, and then the other thing, I've never spoken out on abortion before in my life. I've never been for it or against it. But in America, one side has it just cut and dried, and the other side has it just cut and dried.
Yeah.
I did hear one lady say a while ago that it depends on the situation. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want this question for the beach of the listening audience. Have you ever seen children starve to death?
I have not seen it with my own eyes. I have seen, images obviously represented.
Okay, I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen it on television. Everybody knows, people think the famine in Africa has gone away. There's still millions of children born every year in various sections. They starve to death. A baby starving to death, its stomach gets real big, its legs get real small, its eyes get real big, its stomach finally pops. Now, I'm not saying I'm for or against abortion either way, but my question is it better to abort children in areas like that? I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying start something aborting all children.
Right, but you're raising an interesting,
Yes, very interesting question. Nobody ever brings this subject up. Is it better that those babies in those areas that are going to starve to death and live through a life of pain until they die, or is it better that they're aborted in an early stage? Thank you, Josh. That's all I got to say.
All right, Lee, I appreciate your thoughts and insight. Thank you for calling up. Thank you for raising that question. Obviously, that's going to be something for all of us to think about this Sunday.